In this lesson we will be doing a lot of programs on array. Now I have been doing array in the last few classes also, in first few lectures also, but over here we will be practicing few more array programs. Now if you remember what is an array is nothing but it is a collection of similar data types, which means that, just a small revision, which means that if we declare something like int a100, then automatically a0, then a1, then a2 and so on up to a99, 100 variables are automatically declared. Check out a0 to a99, which automatically means there are 100 variables which are declared. So you have written int a100, 100 variables are declared. Now easily within a loop, say a for loop, you can access any element by ai. Now if i's value is 2, you are accessing a2. If the value of I is 5, you are accessing a5. So you can increment the value of I within an array and you can access any element. And any element, if you assign any value, say if you have assigned a value to a2, say a2 equal to 5, then whatever change you make to a3, a2 will remain intact as 5. So it is a collection of integers. If you write int a100, we say it's a collection of similar data types. What is a data type? Int, float, these are data types. Now, so what is the first program with array that we will write today? The program with array will be say program to calculate the sum of all elements in an array. If you remember, we had calculated sum of the numbers inputted already without an array also. The numbers were inputted and we calculated the sum of those. However, over here we will have a program to calculate the sum of all elements in an array. So firstly it will be inputted in an array and then we will calculate the sum of all the programs or all the elements in that array. So how to do that? Say you remember the first thing, the declaration is int a100, but because hash define a100 is there, so it is better that we write int a(n), which means that this n will be replaced by 100. Hash define means anywhere it finds n, it will replace by 100. So int a(n). Definitely I will need I will need I and I will need a small n. Small n will be the number of values that will be inputted and I will be needed to go through the elements within the array with ai. So I will firstly ask the user printf, enter the number of values to be entered. Is not so? Enter the number of values to be entered, which definitely where will I scan in? I will scan it within n. Scanf %d ampersand n, %d ampersand n. This is where we will scan it within n. So n contains the number of values. Remember, this n can be anything, but not a value more than capital N, because capital N is 100 means 100 elements have been declared. Now if the user says that he declares 500, then there is no way of holding that 500 numbers because you have only declared an array of size 100. So 100 integers you can keep from a0 to a99. So if user says that he will enter 500, you don't have the space. In that case it is better you declare it as 1000. So that guess you will have to make depending on the nature of the program. Over here we are practicing with small programs, so it is assumed that a value of 100 is enough because these are simple programs. So once this n is scanned, now I can tell the user, you enter all the elements in an array, enter the elements or enter the n elements. It is better that n you replace as %d, enter the %d elements of the array. So a /n over here, because all the numbers will be entered one by one from the next line. So to this %d has to be replaced by what? It has to be replaced by n, small n. So say if user has entered that he will enter 8 values, so any scan is 8, scan has scanned as 8, so enter the 8 elements of the array. Now to scan those n number of elements, what do I need to do? I will have to scan n times. How to scan n times? Definitely I will need a for loop for I equal to 0, because I will need to scan n elements. Now need to scan elements, you cannot write scanf first element, scanf second element, scanf third element up to n. I don't know the value of n. So how many times will I write? I don't know. So I will need a for loop. For I equal to 0, I less than n, I plus plus. See how many times you are iterating the loop? You are starting from 0 and you are going up to less than n. So you are going from 0 to n minus 1. So 0 to n minus 1, how many times you are iterating? N times every time I plus plus is happening. So this is this is the for loop. Within the for loop I will scanf %d. Where will I scan? I will scan it within AI. Why AI? Why AI? Because you remember, if you are entering with I equal to 0, scanf within AI means you are scanning within A0. Then again I plus plus I becomes 1. So scanning within AI means scanning within A1. Again I plus plus I is 2. So scanning within AI means scanning within A2, and so on up to n minus 1. So scanning within, when I is n minus 1 it will enter. Scanning within AI will mean a n minus 1 being scanned, and finally I will become n. Once I become small n, then n less than n is false, it will break out of the loop. So you can understand n elements A0 to a n minus 1 has been scanned. If it is 5, as if user enters 8, then A0 to A7 has been scanned. Now you understand that in all array programs, this much of program will always be there. After that, whatever you do with the elements of the array, but this much of the program will always be there. So I will keep this part of the program intact in all my future programs. So we will start by assuming that this part is already written. After that, whatever needs to be done, we will do it, but this part will always, I will keep it intact in my future programs. So this has been scanned now within the elements of the array A0 to a n minus 1. Now what to do? This program is, the idea is calculate the sum of all elements in the array. So what does it mean? You will need to scan, you will need to have sum equal to A0 plus A1 plus A2 up to how much? Plus dot 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 up to how much? A n minus 1. So this is what you need to do. So for that, it is almost the same thing. Sum has to be initialized to 0. You need to initialize sum to 0, and then you need to add A0 to sum. Then you need to add A1 to sum. Then you need to add A2 to sum. Then you need to add a n minus 1 to sum. So you need to add these elements gradually one by one to the variable sum. So again, assuming that now I have got, or keeping in mind the fact that I already have the elements A0 to a n minus 1 with me, I will only need to add this A0 to a n minus 1 in a for loop. Check out this, sum equal to A0 plus A1, A2 up to a n minus 1. So this is what I need to do. What to do? You can understand what to do. I will again need a for loop. I will need to do sum equal to, within that for loop, what will I need to do? I will need to do sum equal to sum plus ai, that is sum plus equal to ai, where I should vary from A0 to a minus 1. So this is what I need, sum equal to sum plus ai, where I varies from 0 to n minus 1. Check out, is not so? You need to vary I from 0 to n minus 1, and every time ai being added. So first time I is 0, so a0 being added. Next time I is 1, a1 being added. Next time I is 2, a2 being added. So this is what you need. So you need a for loop for that. For I equal to 0, I less than n, I plus plus, what will you do? Sum plus equal to ai, but sum has to be initialized to 0 also. Here I is initialized to 0, so first time a0 is added. I incremented I is 1, a1 is added. I incremented I is 2, a2 is added. I incremented I is 3, a3 is added. In this way, I incremented up to n minus 1, a n minus 1 added. Then I becomes n, you go out of the loop, but sum needs to be initialized to 0. So another initialization is needed, sum equal to 0, and don't you forget to declare this sum. So let me do that. So this has been done now. What do you need to do? You just need to print the sum. Otherwise your job is done. So printf, once you go out of this for loop, printf, the sum is %d. There is hardly any difference. between this program and calculating the sum of all elements which have been scanned and not in an array not being used. However, here we are thinking that the numbers are there in an array and we are adding the elements of the array, just for understanding array or revising array once more. The sum is %d. What will I do? I will print the sum. The job is done. So now I can execute this program and check out. Alt R, enter, no errors, enter the number of values, maybe 7 values, enter the 7 elements of the array, 8, 67, 5, 34, 2, 2 again, 12, sum is 130, 7 elements added, 8 plus 67, 75, plus 5, 80, 80 plus 34, 114 plus 2, 116 plus 2, 118 plus 12, 130. So the sum of 7 elements in the array have been done. So I don't think I need to explain this program once more, because this is too simple a program. Achha, what if this would not have been sum, but you needed to calculate the average of all elements in the array? How do you calculate average of all elements in the array? Say this is the sum, how do you calculate average? You know there are n elements in the array, so is not average is equal to sum divided by n? Sum divided by n, is not so? Average is nothing but sum divided by n. So that is how you calculate average. But the problem over here is average can be a floating point number also. So why not you do the needful of what? Maybe you have a floating point value called average, float, average. How to calculate the average? Average is sum by n. So if you over here write, before printing this, once you have got the sum, you know you need one line just average sum by n. But will this work? This will not work. Because if you remember the last class where I said that sum is an integer, n is an integer, one integer divided by another integer is an integer itself. So it is a floating point number, but then it will not treat it as a floating point number. Say sum suppose is 12, n suppose is 5. 12 by 5 it will take as an integer 2, and when you are assigning it to average, it will think it is 2.00000. Try to understand. Say sum is 12, sum is 12, it is an integer. Say n is 5, it is an integer. 12 by 5 you are doing, it will treat 12 by 5 to be 2 because you are dividing one integer to another integer. Then you are assigning it to average, which is a floating point number, so it will think it is 2.0000, which is wrong. You want an exact floating point number. What to do? I told you, you need to typecast. How? Maybe you convert this sum to float firstly. So now sum is not 12. Once you convert it to float sum, now sum becomes 12. Now this becomes 12.0000, which means that before converting, before dividing 12 by 5, you have made it float sum, that is 12.00000. Now you are dividing it by n equal to 5. Now it will make it 2.4. 12 by 5 is 2.4. So now it will print 2.4. It will take average as 2.4. So instead of printing sum, you need to print average, and don't you forget that average is a floating point number. So now you print it, the program will work fine. Just don't forget to comment out this part. So let me run this program again. I think you have understood. Let me run this program again. These are too easy. Enter the elements of the array. Maybe again 6 elements I will take. What are the 6 elements? 32, 23, 41, 12, 8, 4, 42. So 6 elements. So what is the average? 26.333334. So 32 plus 23 is 55, plus 41 is 96, plus 12 is 108, plus 8 is 116, plus 42 is 158. 158 you divide by 6, what will you get? You will 26 into 6 is 156. So definitely you will get 26 followed by a 1/3 2 by 6, so 26.333334. So I think you have understood this. If you want to print only 2 places of decimals, do you remember what to do? 0.2. 2 places of decimal after the point. Only 2 places of decimals after this decimal point. So 0.2, that is how you write it. In that case, it will only print up to 2 places of decimals. Let me run this program again. Say 4 numbers, 20, 98, 12, 3. Sum is 33 point, sorry, one thing I am mistaking. Instead of printing average, I am printing sum is 33.25. I am printing the average, but I forgot to change this sum to average. I should have printed averages. So let me run it again. This was a mistake I was doing. Say 4 numbers again. 6, 5, 89, 1. So 89 and 1 is 90 and 11 is 101. So 101 divided by 4 is 25.25. So that is what it is printing. Average is 25.25. So I think you have understood how to calculate sum and average of elements of an array. So this much is done. Now don't you forget, when I come back, I will have this part intact. I am getting rid of this. See, I am getting rid of this part. So the next program I will do is, let me tell you, so that you can write the program yourself before coming to the next program. After taking the break, before coming to the next program, you can do it yourself. I will try to calculate the maximum number within array. Try to find the maximum number within the array, and then I will try to find also the minimum number within the array. So maximum number within the array, and also I will try to calculate the minimum number within the array. Don't you forget, this much part of the program will remain same. I have already got the elements within the array, A0 to AN minus 1, all elements are there in the array. Now I need to calculate the maximum number out of this A0 to AN minus 1, and once I have done that, I will calculate also the mean. So let us take a bit of break and come back, but before you come back, don't you forget to try the program yourself and then come. Thank you so much.